So now that we got the hang of the basics of Visual Studio debugging tools, we can start debugging some actual projects here. So if you open up the scene folder and click on the cube scene, then you'll see a red square appear and a drop down menu. And keep in mind that these scenes are set up artificially so that there are some errors in them that are maybe easy to spot. But the point of this is that you will be able to go into the script, debug through it, and find these errors so that you will be better at finding the different errors in your own projects. So it is kind of hard sometimes to put up some actual errors that are hard to find. So maybe some of these errors are kind of obvious, but as I said, it should just make it easier for you to get the hang of how all this debugging stuff works. So this game here consists of a cube that you should be able to move around on the WASD keys. And here is a drop down menu that will change the color of this cube. So we expect the game to work with the cube moving around on WASD, and we expect that we are able to change the color on the drop down menu here. Okay, so let's try to move the cube around. Let's try to play the game. And I just created this game and I would like to move my cube, but when I click the different keys here, nothing happens. So apparently I have a bug in my game. So I will have to open up the script that sits on the cube. So let's click on the square and see that we have a cube script here. So if we go to the script, click on the cube script to open it up, we'll see that we have a function inside update called moveCube, and I think that this moveCube function here should be able to move the cube around. So to check what's happening when I try to move the cube, I set a breakpoint on line 24. So I attach it to Unity and I open up Unity and play my game. And now when the game is running, it goes to update and clicks stops here on move cube. And I try to press F11 to go into it. And when I go into it, you'll see that we have an empty function. So that makes sense that my cube isn't moving because my move cube function here is actually empty. But I think I created a function that will actually make the cube move. So let me stop this one more time. So apparently I made a move cube function when I started to make the game, and by mistake I called that one instead of calling the move function. So I started making a move cube function here, and then I forgot that I make move cube function, so I started making another function. So I will have to delete move cube and delete move cube here, and I will need to use move instead of move cube. So let's try that. Okay. So we save our game and we go back into Unity and replay our game to see if it moves now. And when I click the keys, it still doesn't move. So there's actually also a bug in the new function that I created. So let's try to jump back to script, put a breakpoint in move in update, attach to Unity, and jump back to Unity and run the game. And then we press F11 to jump into it. Okay, so here we go. We have a vertical and horizontal value we set to 0. Okay, and then we say transform to translate vector 3, horizontal and vertical, and multiply by speed and such. And when we're done with that, we say vertical equals input and horizontal equals input. But there's a problem here. We are setting our vertical to 0 and our horizontal 0 before we use it and before we read this. So because we're setting these to 0 before we are using translate, well, then our cube can't move. So that's one of the errors, because you can see our translate takes in horizontal 0 and vertical 0. Okay, so that's one bug we'll need to fix. So let's take these two, cut them, and move them up here in front of this, so that it actually reads this into the vertical and the horizontal before we use it. So let's try to save this and run the game one more time and see if this helps. So if we run the game now, the cube still doesn't move. Okay, so we stop the game again, jump back in here and put in a breakpoint. And then we attach again. And we go to Unity and run the game one more time. And we jump into it. Let's see, vertical 0, it's fine. Horizontal 0. Right now I'm not pressing any buttons, but these will have some values if I press the buttons. That's for sure later. That's for sure. Anyway, horizontal 0 and vertical 0. What else do we have? We have a speed which is 0. Okay, so now when I inspected this, I noticed that my speed is actually 0 here, and maybe that's why I'm not moving in the correct I'm not moving at all, because my speed is 0. Because if I multiply something with 0, it becomes 0. So let's try to stop this, and let's try to run back into our cube here, square, and see that it has a speed on it, and this speed will be set to 10 instead. Okay. So now we have narrowed it down to the speed. Let's try to play the game again and move. And it moves, but it's a little odd because when I move to the left, it actually goes down, and when I move to the right, it goes up and down is also inverted. So something is wrong there. Let's try to set one more breakpoint and run the game. Basically, you don't need a breakpoint for this. You can also just jump to the code. So if we step in here, we'll see that our vertical axis is equal to input dot get axis horizontal, and our horizontal is equal to input get axis vertical. So basically, I mixed up these two when I made the game by mistake. So I'll have to switch these two around. So if I stop and use horizontal instead of vertical here, and use vertical here, and save the game, then I should be able to move in the correct directions. Let's try that. And yeah, so now I have a cube that can move left and right and up and down. So let's try to see if the color swap also works. So if I play the game, click on the color swap here, and I select blue, the cube turns blue. Yeah, that's fine. Let's try to turn green, but the cube doesn't turn green, and I can't switch this back to red either. Let's try one more time where we start with the green one. Okay, it still goes blue, so there's something totally wrong with my colors here, the way that I'm setting my colors. So let's try to stop this, and let's see where am I going with these colors. So I have a color change function here, and I can see that on my canvas drop down menu, I'm calling the color change function when I use this drop down menu here under the canvas and the drop down menu here. So basically I'm going to set a breakpoint here to see what happens. So let's try to save this, and let's go to Unity, play the game, and attach this to Unity. Just remove the breakpoint and move. Press continue. Yeah, so if you have some breakpoints around, then just remove them if it breaks an update. We don't need that right now. So just if you have a breakpoint like this, just click on it to remove it and press continue. And then we'll have to go out here because we just put a breakpoint on switch color. And to trigger switch color, we'll have to click on the red here. And let's try to click on green. And then it breaks in here. And then we will try to click the F11. And then you'll see the switch color function just says that my sprite renderer color equals blue. So that's why regardless of what I click on, it will always select the blue color instead of the correct color. So now I figured out that I have an error here. But we'll see that I already have a change color function here. So this change color function is actually the function that I would like to call. And here I'm calling switch color, which is a mistake. So basically I need to delete color change, delete here, and I need to delete switch color. and I need to call change color instead. So let's try to jump back into Unity and select the drop down and then select the new function. So if I just take the inspector and roll it out here so we can see it, you'll see in the bottom of this drop down here, we have a on value changed. And on value changed is actually called whenever we change the value out here. So select that one and make sure it has selected the square. And then there is a function here you need to select by clicking no function, or maybe it has selected an old function. And then click the cube script and then select change color. And here it has a parameter called drop down. And if it didn't select this drop down by itself, then click on the little radio button here and select the drop down in the menu that pops up. Okay, so now we have selected our drop down menu correctly, and we should be able to change the colors now. So let's try to play the game again. See if we can turn it blue. We can turn blue, and let's see what happens if we turn green. Okay, so it still doesn't turn green, but if we look here at our square, we have some different colors. We have an element 0, which is red, 1 is blue, and 2 is green. So we have the colors set correctly. So let's try to jump into the script here and find change colors, set a breakpoint, attach it to Unity, and run the game. And if we run the game and select green, it is going to break here. So now when it breaks, we will need to inspect the different variables to see what's wrong. First of all, we will need to check the value here. So the current value is 2, which is correct. 0, 1, 2, and number 2 was green color. Which means that if we look in colors here, it should be set to 0, 1, 0.048, and 1, this color here when we're done. So if we step one time, we'll check the color, and it's actually 0, 1, 0.48, and 1. Okay, so this is correct. What about down here? We have our color, which is equal to our new color, which is 0011. So, this means that our new color is not equal to new color up here. And why might that be? Well, if you look closer, you'll see that I made a mistake by creating two different color variables. One written in American English with O and O, and one written in British English with OU here in the end. At least that's how I think it's spelled in British and American English. I'm not sure if I mixed them around, but at least there are two different ways of spelling color here. So we just noticed that we are not even using this variable here that we're setting to set our color on our component. So let's just stop for a while and make sure that we take this new color and copy it and paste it down here. So we use the correct variable. And all the way here in the top, we'll need to delete this old one that is always blue. So that's why it always changes to blue. So if we save this now and jump back to the game and rerun the game, then we should be able to move our cube correctly. And we should be able to change it to blue, to green, back to red, to green again, and to blue. So now we have successfully debugged our project and made sure that our cube can move and change color. So this was a little more advanced thing with debugging, where we tried to look at it in like some kind of game scenario. The next scenario we are going to look at, or in the next video, we are going to look at a scenario with a calculator. So thank you very much for watching, and remember to subscribe to my channel, like my Facebook page, and follow me on Twitter. Remember that InScope Studios is a community founded page, so all your support is very important to me. You can support me in two different ways. You can either get one of my projects by clicking the link in the bottom of the screen, or you can support me on Patreon, where you can get some different perks, but you can see more about that by clicking the link in the top of the screen. Thank you very much for watching.